Thank you, Mr. Moussavi, for your time, sir.
Pleasure.
I think at the moment, Mr. Moussavi, you are actually talk of the town, and everybody's talking about you back in Pakistan. Every news channel, every headline, every program, every tweet, and even today, the government of Pakistan actually took your what you said in that interview with me on board, and now they're saying that we have to tell to the people of Pakistan that what happened with the broadsheet, and the Nawaz government actually tried to bribe you. So first, tell us your reaction, sir. The response you have got on the story, and obviously your interview has been taken obviously widely in Pakistan.
Well, I hope I don't end up, as they say, a lot of heroes in the graveyard. I hope I don't end up one of those, given the adversary that I've been up against. I have fought corruption in many countries. In Mexico, I've had offers from half a dozen governments and concluded agreements with several. As you know, I'm pursuing corruption in Iran on a major scale. Persona non grata there with a kleptomanic regime that runs Iran at the moment. So, but rarely have I experienced the kind of misrepresentation, the kind of fraudulent conspiracy as I did with NAB. It is shameful to call that organization a National Accountability Bureau. I have to admit, the only two people who come out smelling of roses in this very sorry saga are General Amjad and Farooq Adam Khan, the first prosecutor of NAB. I had great hopes that General Musharraf was going to take this seriously. His excuse at the Oxford Union, and I asked him that question, and it's on tape, it's there. His excuse was, and I know it's nothing but an excuse, that the Supreme Court ordered him to hold elections, and all the crooks, as he called them, came re-elected, and so they gutted NAB. But my reaction is, well, I'm very happy that a fellow Oxford man is taking over Pakistan and is trying to clean it out. I have no doubt that his intentions are very noble. He's surrounded himself with a few people that I recognize, and I can certainly vouch for their credentials as having meaning well. Whether they're able to pull it off or not, well, I guess. Certainly I was not impressed with the performance of NAB and the government in the last 2 years. They had the opportunity to obey a court order. I sent a text to Shahzad Akbar and said, I thought this government was making out that it obeys the rule of law. And its performance does not show that. Look, let there be no doubt about it. We had to seize and sequester assets belonging to the government of Pakistan. It is a complete lie. It's a fraud on the people of Pakistan to pretend that Pakistan voluntarily abided by a court order. They did not. The court ordered them to pay. Sir Anthony Evans ordered them to pay, and they did not. We had to go deeper into investigation in order to. Now, my message to the government of Pakistan, the people of Pakistan, is this is going to affect your credibility. It's going to affect your bonds rates. It's going to your market. So you better get your act together very quickly because time is short.
Mr. Moussavi, your reaction, because your name obviously mentioned today by Shahzad Akbar in his press conference, and he said that this family. And he's mentioning mentioning Sharif family has the habit of spinning the situation like they did in the court order, and they use it for their own purpose. Your reaction to that, sir? And the second thing,
I agree with, insofar as I can, I agree with Shahzad Akbar that they have spun it. Look, what he's referring to, what the minister is referring to, is correct. That is to say, it's a complete spin by the Sharif family to suggest that the order of discharge of the application to freeze the Avonfield apartments exonerates the Sharif family in any shape or form. It does nothing of the sort. The only reason why that order was discharged, because we withdrew it. We withdrew the application. Why? Because we were able to find other money. We found the money belonging to the government of Pakistan in the United Bank, and we seized it, and we froze it. And, you know, we are honest people, and we are not interested in getting more money than we were in. So he's right. So the Sharif family are making it up. I agree with the minister. They are spinning this thing. But I do not agree with the minister when he adds that I came in very late in the day. The very first check, the very first money that was put into Broadsheet was money that I put in. So it's a complete fabrication. It's a complete lie when the minister says, I came in late in the day.
Having said that, your reaction, what Imran Khan government is doing, because they want this message to be sent across the country that what Broadsheet is doing, and you have, like, the Broadsheet has been bribed by this family. Your take on that?
Well, I've spoken on the record about this. Mr. Anjum Dar came to see us in 2012. He brought credentials. His credentials were photographs with Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and he said he was a nephew of Sharif, and they offered $25 million for us to go away. And I have witnesses, by the way. There were other people in the room, and I made a record of it and told our lawyers immediately that this had happened. The reality is that my message via him, I don't know if it got to Nawaz Sharif or not, was I'm not interested in bribes. The contract I have is to fight corruption and bribes. You're trying to bribe someone who you've contracted to fight bribes. That doesn't make sense. If you wish to settle this, do it through the court. And the procedure is we both parties come to an agreement and we sign a consent order, and that's the end of it. Had the government of Pakistan and NAB been genuine, they would have saved millions for the government of Pakistan. They would have saved a lot of embarrassment. The offer was on the table. You know, we believed that we were entitled to hundreds of millions of dollars, but we're willing to take 25 million.
Mr. Moussavi, sorry, I have to, because we are very short of time, as you are in a hurry as well. Today, what happened outside Avon Field, Hussain Nawaz speaking to some media, there was a clip going on, and he said that obviously your company failed to, when it comes to the evidences, they were not presented in the court in London. Please explain for the audience and for everybody to understand this, that there was the attachment case, how is not the part of this whole thing, because they believe that the evidence is, were you asked by the court to present any evidences when it comes to Avon Field? And this is what they're using it as a defense, and this is how they're using it for their own purposes, as a defense that, look, we have been given a clean chit from the court of London.
Well, if you want evidence, it's the Sir Anthony's judgment. Sir Anthony Evans he was the president of the Court of Appeal. His judgment is quite clear. If we had not found stolen money, stolen by oligarchy, kleptocrats like the Sharifs, we would not have been awarded any money. Clearly, we were awarded. The court awarded us. So I would rest my case by asking the people of Pakistan to believe a High Court judge rather than Mr. Sharif's son. That's the first point I'd make. The second point I'd make is, look, the application was withdrawn. We did not pursue the application because we were trying to attach assets belonging to the government of Pakistan. The court, the accountability court in Pakistan, had ruled that these apartments were bought with stolen money. Yes? Now,
yes.
We use that as the evidence and put it in front of the High Court judge in England, and they said, okay, we'll go ahead. We withdrew the application. We said we did not pursue the application. The suggestion by Mr. Sharif or the Sharif family that the removal of the charge order on the apartments suggests anything remotely looking like a exoneration of the family is a straightforward fabrication. It's a straightforward. All people have to do is look at the application to the court. We withdrew it. We allowed it to fall into abeyance because we had secured funds that we had frozen at the United Bank.
And who was the Interior Minister? Because people know that it was, but they really want to know from your self that who was the Interior Minister whose funds were frozen in America, New Jersey?
Who was the minister? Sorry?
Then he was made the Interior Minister later.
Sherpa, Mr. Sherpa.
And Mr. Sherpa was the person who's.
It wasn't in Jersey. It wasn't New Jersey. It was in Jersey in the Channel Islands. His assets, Mr. Sherpa, bang in the middle of our efforts, we had frozen his accounts in Jersey. And we wrote to the government of Pakistan and said, we've frozen. We found this crook's accounts, and this is stolen money in here, And please write to the government of Jersey and request under the Treaty for Mutual Judicial Assistance, come and take this money. Not only they didn't take the money, they not only they didn't do what Broadsheet asked them to do, they sabotaged it by writing to the government and saying, unfreeze his account. And secondly, they asked Broadsheet to remove him off the list of targets. We were shocked. We were shocked. We spent hundreds of thousands in order to trace this man's money, and we traced him to Jersey, and we found the account, we froze it, and what happens? Instead of Pakistan coming in and grabbing that money, they not only released the money, released the account, they appointed him as minister.
So Sherpa contacted you at any point?
No, Sherpa didn't contact me. No.
Right. So because people are asking if you can give us some more names in that 200 list.
I've just given you. This is at the time when NAB was no longer under the control of General Amjad. The people who took over were a disaster. I mean,
okay.
The judge is quite clear. The evidence, he didn't believe the evidence. The only evidence he accepted, the judge accepted, was General Amjad's evidence.
Let's start with Pakistan People's Party. Can you give us a few names in Pakistan People's Party government who were involved in that list?
They weren't in Broadsheet. They were an IAR, International Asset Recovery, at the head of Mrs. Zardari.
And that was Mr. Zardari. Who else?
Mrs. Bhutto.
Mrs. Bhutto and?
I mean, I don't have that's not the issue of litigation, so I'm not at liberty to discuss those. But because those issues have been, the Geneva court, when they ordered the freezing on the back of our application, they talked about the late Mrs. Bhutto and they talked about Zardari. I don't think I need to make a case about Mr. Zardari's financial probity. I think.
And when it comes to 200 more names, like they were the politicians only, the business people.
Business people, yes, as well. Yeah.
Any name you can give us to the audience?
It's confidential. I can't discuss that.
Okay. And what about the Nawaz Sharif? Apart from Nawaz Sharif, because there was something.
Yeah, their alter egos, their son, their daughter, Maryam, the late. I don't want to discuss somebody who's passed away. Obviously, the names of a lot of people were on there, and I should be happy to release them to you in due course. I obviously don't remember them because we're talking 17 years ago. The issue was raised, but Sherpa was certainly one, and you know, it is one of the most notorious examples of the fraud that masquerades as a National Accountability Bureau in Pakistan. It is nothing of the sort. To insist on releasing an account that we have managed to find, trace, and freeze, and then release the money back to the man who got these ill-gotten gains, and then to appoint him the Minister of Interior, the Home Minister in Pakistan. What does that tell you about the nature of the government of Pakistan? What does that tell you about the oligarchy that's raping and plundering the country? I think I know what it tells me.
My last question is, sir. The Sharif government, the Sharif family is actually looking at the options of going to the court, and they want to. They're saying that they're looking at their legal options against what you have said them, because obviously they believe that you have defamed the Sharif family. Have you, sir, defamed Sharif family in this whole episode of revealing the facts you believe? Have you defamed Sharif family, sir?
I thought, Imran, this was a serious, Irfan, I thought this was a serious interview, but I'm glad you ended as a joke. I mean, don't make me laugh. To go to court to defend a reputation, you have to have a reputation in the first place. Exhibit 1, Your Honor, shall be in that court the decision, the award of Sir Anthony Evans. Be my guest if they want to sue me for libel, but my message to them is you've got to have a reputation in the first place to defend, and I don't think you have a reputation. And if you don't believe me, look at the judgment of Sir Anthony Evans.
You don't need to answer that if you believe that you don't have to answer that. Have anybody approached you through telephone or anything, telling you?
Some lawyer rang me on an unidentified telephone number, and I said I have 6 lawyers before breakfast every morning, and another 4 for breakfast. So don't threaten me. You know, I happen to be an international arbitrator myself, so I do know the law. And as for defamation, I insist if you have a reputation to defend, yes, but if your reputation is what their reputation is, I don't think should we say I'm not going to lose much sleep over this one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moussavi, for your time, sir.
It's my pleasure. Okay.